The Smash series is loaded with absolutely broken moves, and I don't mean moves that don't work, although there are plenty of those. I mean moves that are game-breaking, moves that warp the way you play around them. Sometimes these moves are on incredible characters. Melee Fox's Shine is inarguably the best move in the game. It's an instant, invincible Swiss Army knife, helping Fox in neutral, disadvantage, recoveries, combos, and stray hit KOs. In the same game, Jigglypuff's Rest is a hydrogen bomb attached to a coughing baby, capable of taking even a perfectly fresh stock off the right setup. Brawl Meta Knight's Tornado is considered a war crime in some countries, one of the least interactive, most versatile fighting game moves of all time. Bayonetta's Witch Time could counter attacks as weak as jabs and lead to death at almost any percent. And Smash Ultimate's Steve gets to literally play Minecraft and go creative mode with his blocks, killing you at absurd percents with Minecart and Anvil and deleting you with Diamond Smash attacks. But just because a character has a game-breaking move doesn't really mean that the character will be good enough to break the game themselves. Most of these characters also have something else that makes them game-breaking, like insane speed, a godlike recovery, or just so many of those broken moves loaded onto a single kit that it's too overwhelming. But in every single Smash game, there's a few moves out there that are potential game breakers, moves that could absolutely destroy a meta, if it weren't for the fact that they were stuck on some of the worst characters in the game. So today, I'm gonna go over some of the most broken, busted, godlike, and flat out incredible moves that are doomed to languish on low tiers. Thank you to ExpressVPN, who is paid to be mentioned in today's video. So here's something that kind of bugs me. In the US, your internet service provider can legally see everything you do online and sell your browsing history to advertisers. Like, that's just the thing that's allowed. And it doesn't matter if you're in incognito mode either. Whoever owns the Wi-Fi you're on can still see your entire browsing history and sell it wherever they want. ExpressVPN encrypts all of your internet traffic and routes it through their secure servers, so your ISP has nothing to log, nothing to sell, and nobody snooping on your Wi-Fi can see what you're doing. The other thing I use it for a lot, Netflix has completely different libraries depending on what country you live in, so I'll hop in a server in the UK or even Japan, and suddenly there's a whole catalog of stuff I've never seen before. So if you're interested, they just rolled out new tiered pricing, so you can get ExpressVPN for as low as $3.49 a month. And you can also get up to 4 extra months by scanning the QR code on screen, or by clicking the link in the description below, or by going to expressvpn.com/turndown. Thanks again to ExpressVPN for supporting the channel, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. All things considered, Smash 64's low tiers are relatively balanced compared to some of the characters I'm going to talk about later. You won't really see too many dedicated mains for characters like Ness, Luigi, Donkey Kong, and Link, but you will occasionally see top-level players pick them up and even win tournaments with them, like we saw at Port Priority 9 with Luigi and Frame 14 with Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong has a really absurd grab, and before you click away, I know I already made like 100 videos about Donkey Kong in Melee, and I'm probably going to make 100 more, but just bear with me here, because it's not the one that you're thinking of. It's actually his back throw, which is capable of killing lighter characters at well under 100%. Ness's down air is both insanely potent as a combo tool and extremely safe thanks to his ability to double jump cancel, allowing him to string together multiple down airs low to the ground, potentially leading to 0 to death combos or even shield breaks. But out of the 12 character roster, Luigi is generally considered the worst character in Smash 64, despite the fact that he has what might be the game's single most powerful combo finisher, his up special, Fire Jump Punch. Like most of Luigi's moves in Smash 64, this move is mostly a ripoff of Mario's Super Jump Punch with a tweak. But it's a pretty big tweak. Luigi's Fire Punch is one of the most powerful moves in every single Smash game, but it was never stronger than it was in its first iteration. This is the move that really makes Luigi's combo game so good. If he manages to connect an up air, there's a very strong chance that he can string it into more up airs and then string that into an up special, and that up special can kill at extremely low percents. Unlike future games, Luigi's Fire Punch is just as powerful in the air, and the fact that he can drag you up closer to the blast zone before letting it rip just makes it even better. Unfortunately for Smash 64 Luigi, he is a bad character, like he just sucks. He's incredibly stubby and he has very low airspeed, which is a lethal combination that makes it almost impossible for him to actually get in and land that first hit against a slippery or defensive opponent. So the result here is that Luigi is usually considered to be an inferior version of another character, and not his brother and semi-clone Mario, but rather Captain Falcon, who has a similar game plan of linking up airs and finishing with an up B. Luigi. Now, in a vacuum, Falcon's finisher may not be as strong, but his range and speed means that he can actually access his combos with a regularity that Luigi simply cannot. If you really want to better understand just how much of a problem this move could have been on a Luigi with any semblance of movement whatsoever, just look at how hard they felt they had to nerf this move between 64 and Melee. I mean, holy fuck, dude. What the fuck? Why? Luigi's not even like a top tier in Melee. From 64 on, this move was nerfed in almost every way. Now it goes straight up, so it's a significantly worse recovery tool. Its power was nerfed across the board, and the aerial sweet spot is now a lot weaker than the already nerfed grounded one. In Melee, its startup is slower, and its intangibility kicks in later as well. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely still a good move, as Rat Monster and my 25 videos about him have been showing in his recent tournament runs, but it's a lot more toned down. And that's kind of a good thing too, because a Luigi with 64's version of this move on a player who could move like this, that would be really bad. That would be crazy. I already think Rat Monster's the best player in the game, but like, come on. Melee's bottom tiers are much, much worse compared to the top tiers relative to what Smash 64 had established, but there are still some pretty crazy moves on the characters doomed to the depths of Melee's tier list. As I talked about in a recent video, on the rare appearances that Bowser appears in tournament play, his up special is central to his game plan. It has incredible utility as a combo starter, combo breaker, out of shield option, and sometimes KO option. It's fast, it's huge, and it has intangibility frames to allow it to beat some of the game's more broken approach tools like Fox's neutral air, but it's just nowhere near enough to allow him to contend with the broken moves and broken attributes on the game's best characters, or even some of its mid-tiers for crying out loud. Ness once again has a fantastic aerial kit enabled further by double jump canceling. There's a couple of understandable picks from his kit, but I'd go with up air as one of his better moves. It's both a combo starter and combo extender, it does great damage, and it even has invincibility on his head to help deal with opponents attempting to combo break. Kirby's back air isn't quite as good as Jigglypuff's, although that's largely due to Puff's superior airspeed. The fence of pain, as it were, is still quite strong though, and with that back air and all those jumps, Kirby is a pretty good edge guarder, all things told. He just has trouble getting to that position in the first place. What probably would have been my answer to this question in previous years is Mr. Game & Watch's up special. It's one of the only frame 1 moves in the game, meaning it's the fastest out of shield option in the entire game, and it's also one of the best recovery tools, partially thanks to how absurdly far away he can be from the ledge and still grab it. It's not like the move has gotten any worse, but Game & Watch has been getting a little bit of love in the past few years from some Melee players to the point where I don't even know if I would consider him low tier enough anymore. And by the way, I'm not going to go for the low-hanging fruit that is Zelda's down B is the best move in the game because transforming into Sheik is the best move in the game, but the best move on a low tier, I think, could still belong to Zelda and her lightning kicks. If I had to pick one, I suppose I'd go with the back air, which is very slightly faster, which allows Zelda to do it twice in a short hop, which she can still do it twice with the forward air version, but it's a little bit easier to do with back air just because it's slightly faster. It's honestly a really great air-to-air tool, and it gives Zelda the ability to kill off pressure and stray hits, but she also has access to combos into it through a number of moves in her kit, including but not limited to Sour Spot lightning kick, Sour Spot down air, down tilt, and even her down throw. I'm not so proud to say that I have genuinely been four-stocked by Zelda players before, because I think Mario into Zelda is like not that great of a matchup, but you know, no Johns, I guess, whatever. But if this character had any way whatsoever to approach, this move would be a huge problem. But as it is, it's pretty easy for most characters, not Mario, to stay out of her threat range. Zelda isn't seen too often in competitive play despite the power of these moves.
Zelda?
That's a character.
It certainly, it's almost a character. It's almost a character.
But on rare occasions we do see her, like with some Sheik players trying Zelda into the notoriously difficult Ice Climbers matchup. The power of the lightning kicks is central to the game plan. In the case of Luigi, because I just can't stop talking about this character, he had his best move nerfed, but his character was reworked to the point where he was able to reach mid or even high tier in subsequent games. In the case of Zelda, I think her lightning kicks have always been up there with some of the best moves in the game, but the rest of her design has remained flawed in similar ways as the series has progressed, leaving her as Smash's perpetual low tier, still waiting for everything to come together and truly unlock her potential. Also, don't tell anyone about that. I didn't get four-stocked by Zelda players, don't tell anyone that. In no Smash game is the separation between top and bottom tiers larger than Brawl. Meta Knight is filled to the brim with strong moves and strong attributes, whereas most of the bottom tier characters are out here begging for just a drop of sauce, anything to make their kits even function. Pokemon Trainer is a disaster of a character from a design perspective for a bunch of reasons, with most of the mechanics made for the character like stamina and elemental-based attack effectiveness mostly just making the character worse. Like, I honestly have no clue what they were cooking with this one. This is terrible game design. What the Okay. But Charizard was particularly rough, easily the worst of the 3 Pokemon despite being the only final evolution, mostly only used to refresh the stamina of other Pokemon. Charizard's side special Rock Smash, though, is honestly an incredible tool with multiple uses. The headbutt that smashes the rock does 18 damage by itself, and the shards from the rock smashing can provide a ton of additional damage, approaching almost 50% in the extremely rare condition where all the shards hit. It's also strong enough to kill after racking up some damage, and given how slow Charizard's smash attacks are, it's probably his most reliable kill move. Rock Smash can still be interrupted on startup, of course, but even if you hit Charizard before the rock is broken, the shards can still break and deal pretty substantial damage. Ganondorf might be the most nerfed character in Smash history, dropping from a solid high mid-tier in Melee to the single worst character in the game in Brawl, and arguably the single worst character in the entire series. Ganon was a character whose powerful attacks were his entire identity, and just about every single move in his kit was targeted with damage nerfs or knockback nerfs, if not both. The result of this in Brawl was an abomination of a character with all of the same weaknesses but none of the strengths of Melee Ganon, and he is stuck to the bottom of the tier list for the game's entire lifespan. However, Ganon had one very, very strong and very cool tool, a tool that would have been utterly game-breaking on any character that wasn't Ganon. Ganon's down air was weaker than it was in Melee, like most of his moves, but that's not what makes his Brawl down air so strong. Aerials in Smash have something called an auto-cancel window that opens a certain number of frames after inputting the move. By landing during this window, rather than going into the lag that usually happens after landing with an aerial, the character will instead be immediately actionable. Landing with an aerial and being active immediately allows characters to chase down hits they otherwise would never be able to, opening tons of combo routes. Many of the most explosive characters in Smash history are enabled by auto-cancel aerials, with moves like Melee Fox's Drill, Melee Sheik's Forward Air, Brawl Meta Knight, everything, Smash 4 Cloud Down Air, and Ultimate Rob Neutral Air all serving as great examples of auto-canceling aerials regularly exploited by top tiers for both safe approaches and big combo starting potential. Ganon's down air in Brawl had a generous enough auto-cancel window that he could perform a down air within a short hop and land in the auto-cancel window, allowing him to follow up off his down airs with a number of his moves, like more down airs, which was kind of just like funny. He was like doing a pogo stick thing. You should watch Brawlternative's video about this. But the problem was the rest of Ganon's kit was just so utterly lackluster that the best option was usually doing another down air, and he lacked the kind of finishers that he'd get in future games with access to more powerful aerials and smash attacks. This alone wasn't enough to save him from coming in dead last on the game's last official tier list. But this move, if you put this move on so many low tiers in Smash history, they would immediately have at least some sort of viability. I think that just speaks to the total failure of the rest of Brawl Ganondorf's design, that he's still this bad, even with something this good. Smash 4 was definitely a game, some would say. I guess, like Brawl, it was a game of haves versus have-nots, but the bottom and low tiers of this game at least have a little more power than that of in Brawl. In a lot of cases, it actually seems like the design philosophy of Smash 4's lower tiers was that if they can't have good attributes like high speed or strong recoveries or good defensive options like fast rolls or air dodges, they can at least have some really strong moves. Pac-Man had some believers early on, like me, but wound up low tier on the game's final tier list. I guess I just have this ability to seek out bad characters, whatever. Weaknesses like his awful grab overshadowed his strengths in the end, which included some of the most overwhelming item and projectile play in the game. Pac-Man's key was the most broken item that a character could spawn, just hands down, and this is in a game with Diddy Kong's banana. Nice try, Diddy. But the key was re-grabbable in Smash 4, meaning you could continuously Z-drop it and recover it. Z-dropping key served as an incredibly fast out-of-shield combo starter, and it was particularly strong in combination with his down special, Hydrant. He could basically dribble the key like a basketball onto the Hydrant, creating an almost impenetrable wall, and he had the threat of just straight up throwing it at an opponent who decided to try and camp him out on the other side of the stage. Bowser Jr.'s Clown Cart Dash side special is one of the more versatile moves in Smaphorish. It has a jump cancel that importantly does not spend your double jump if used in the air, which means Bowser Jr. basically has 3 jumps. That's both a strong recovery tool and a strong approach option that can bait opponents into swinging. On hit, it could lead to one of the strongest kill confirms in the game, as you could chase the hit with an up special and combo into the hammer swing for an early stock. You could also press special again on the ground to go into a spin out, a fairly powerful horizontal kill option that could surprise opponents expecting a jump cancel. Unfortunately, the heavy armor on that move just didn't beat strong enough hits for this move to be a truly great approaching tool. It's really strong, don't get me wrong, but it's just not enough to elevate the rest of Bowser Jr.'s underwhelming kit beyond low tier. Ganondorf still sucks. He's once again a low tier in Smash 4, but he is undeniably a far better character here, as they at least gave him some real power to go with his awful movement attributes and recovery. Down air was still a great move and a huge part of his kit, but with a lower short hop in Smash 4, he can't recreate the pogo stick down air that he had in Brawl. Instead, the defining tool of Ganondorf in Smash 4 was his up smash, and not just as a kill tool. This move was actually greatly buffed, dealing more damage and hitting at a sharper upwards angle, making it much more potent off the top. But more importantly, it has low end lag for a move of its power, recovering only 16 frames after the last hitbox is off the screen. Now, disclaimer, this was also the case in Brawl, but the move's lower damage made it both far less risky for an opponent to challenge it, and it was also just far less safe on shield. In Smash 4, Ganondorf could safely use this move on shield, and an opponent who tried to dash in and grab it, a fairly safe option against almost every other similarly powerful Smash attack, would get absolutely blown up by a relatively fast forward or down tilt from the Ganondorf player. Or, if the Ganondorf had a really strong read, another up smash. This tactic was definitely unlocked by the higher power of Ganondorf's moveset, but it was a powerful mind game more than anything else, only enhanced by the degree to which players actually had to fear the power of the up smash itself. Before I go on to Ultimate, you might be ready to say, but Walt, you didn't mention KO Punch, and you're right. That's actually because Little Mac is technically not a low tier according to the last Smash 4 tier list, which really shows you just how broken that move is. Despite the absurd size of Smash Ultimate's roster, the game is actually relatively well balanced compared to the previous 2 Smash games, with a number of terrifying low tiers capable of going on deep tournament runs if they can just avoid a few of the top tiers who threaten to toss them right back into the dumpster they came from. The balance philosophy from Smash 4 of giving characters with bad attributes really strong moves seems to return here, arguably even stronger than before. Consider Dr. Mario, who's basically Mario with worse moves but stronger moves. A character with incredible frame data and kill power, and even arguably one of the best projectiles in the game with his buff Mega Vitamins. It just doesn't matter because he's too slow to actually hit anybody, and that's a theme with a lot of the characters in this game's low tier. Okay, I'm gonna mention KO Punch now because despite how busted a fully invincible move that can kill at 0 can and should be, Little Mac is a bottom tier in Ultimate, lumped in with Ganondorf in a tier of their own at the bottom of the most recent Ultimate tier list. It should be pretty obvious how busted this move can be just from the simple threat it presents in neutral when KO Punch is active, but Little Mac can also combo it off of his down and up tilts and can even use it to save him from a rough spot off stage if he has to. Although it obviously really hurts to have to spend KO Punch on anything that isn't resulting in a KO. If it wasn't locked behind Mac's meter mechanic, KO Punch would pretty clearly be the best move in the game, but the fact that he has to work so hard to access it and keep it means it doesn't quite reach the apex here, but hey, maybe that's like canonically accurate to the character, I don't know. Zelda deserves another mention here, as her down special Phantom Knight became one of the best zoning tools in the game after receiving some serious buffs from its underwhelming Smash 4 version. The vision was there in 4, as it gave Zelda a much needed way to pressure a faraway opponent that wasn't committing to an easily punishable Din's Fire, but the charge was just way too slow in that game, and the hits that you got from the Phantom Knight didn't really seem like an appropriate reward for all of the time you had to spend charging. That changed significantly in Ultimate. The Phantom's charge was pretty much completely reworked, now with 6 stages instead of just 3, with Zelda getting more out of the move at pretty much every charge duration. The level 4 Phantom in particular does an overhead slash, which helps deal with perhaps the most obvious way of trying to deal with it, simply jumping over the Phantom and punishing the helpless Zelda when she's in lag. Every stage does have some use, but the 6th and final stage is absolutely nasty, dashing across the stage, blocking projectiles and attackers alike, and ending in an upward slash with a high enough knockback to serve as a strong kill move and a strong edgeguard tool. Zelda is also actionable as soon as the knight is fully constructed, meaning she can approach and pressure pressure the opponent before the knight dashes, forcing opponents into uncomfortable decisions. Do I stay and shield and eat all this pressure, or do I jump and risk getting hit by either the slash or an extremely powerful Zelda up air or lightning kick? For this reason, it's important to keep pressure up against Zelda, because while she's a low tier in this game for all the reasons I discussed with Melee, she's just still too slow and too bad at approaching. Her Phantom Knight just at least gives her a way to deal with opponents who foolishly give her too much space. But in my opinion, the best move on a low tier in Ultimate fittingly belongs to the only DLC character in the low tier, Piranha Plant, who was free DLC but still technically DLC nonetheless. Few characters in Smash history have had a move as centralizing as Piranha Plant's neutral B, Patui. The amount of utility in this singular move is just insane. It's an incredible anti-air thanks to its fast startup, and it can generally be safe to throw out even if Plant gets hit because the Patui can fall and punish the opponent for hitting Plant out of its startup. Plant has a lot of control over where it blows the Patui, giving it an extremely strong edge guarding potential, and Plant can even decide whether or not to throw it at all, making the move less committal and allowing the Plant to bait defensive options. It's a fast enough move to serve as a combo follow-up off of some of Plant's juggling moves like falling up air. It's great at the ledge in both advantage and disadvantage, as Plant can productively bounce the Patui off the corners of the stage to assist in edge guards, or use it after a ledge drop to protect the return to stage. Even if the enemy shields, the incredible amount of shield stun on the move can still allow Plant to get onto stage safely. And not to mention, the move hits hard. It does 14% on spawn and an extra 4% when thrown. 18% is just simply absurd on a projectile, but it has more than enough knockback to also be an effective kill move, and not just when hitting deep off stage. There are few moves in any character's kit, like in the Smash series, that have such strong applications in so many areas of the game. Combos, recovery, pressure, zoning, heck, you can even use all the different options you have after spawning the Patui to play some pretty nasty mind games. Unfortunately for Plant, they're shackled by a bunch of matchups where characters that nullify projectiles, think Villager with Pocket or Falco with Reflector, can really dissuade Plant's greatest strength, showing off exactly why Plant is a low tier despite access to such a strong option. The rest of the kit just doesn't have enough juice, despite a really strong up throw, back air, and up smash to allow Plant to succeed if you can shut down the character's main tool. And wouldn't you know it, once again, this was a DLC that I was really excited to play in Ultimate, and the character is just bad, so fuck. God damn it. So, what's the most broken move on a low tier in Smash history? Well, for my money, it's probably still Luigi's up special from Smash 64. I mean, just look at how strong it's been in games like Melee, Smash 4, and Ultimate, and how much worse those versions of his up special are than the absolutely busted one he had in 64, with its aerial kill power and actual horizontal reach. Obviously, that's just my opinion, and we're on YouTube, so you guys probably have strong opinions too, and maybe you'll get mad about it, and you'll yell at me over my thoughts on a video game. So, yeah, what do you think? If I missed any moves that you think deserve a mention, then leave a comment or whatever. Hey, look at that. It's a totally not by design way to get you to leave a comment on this YouTube video so I can get 1 million views. Fooled you. Got him. I don't really know how to end the video now, so I'm just gonna go. Thanks for watching, I guess. Bye. Big thanks to Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Brent Mukai, Carter Roberts, Dark Genix, Eric is Cool, Gustavo Cantu Fernandez, James Fadman, Justin Duncan Mills, Kyle Carlin, Marshall Bradley, and Sam Wright.